It's May 30th, Saturday, 2020. It's just past 8:30 in the morning, about 8:35. I don't talk about this, really, but I was brought up in kind of a conservative background, church-wise, Baptist or Bible church. And basically what we believed was that Jesus was born of a virgin, that he died for the sins of the world, that he was the Son of God, and that he was he died and he arose, and then he ascended, and he said he'd be back. Now, my particular denomination adhered to the theological and doctrinal views of dispensationalism, and they're very non-bending with their doctrine. What they would consider a minor doctrine would be a pre-tribulation rapture theory. That's a minor doctrine until you start picking at it a little bit, and then it turns into part of the entire doctrine. And I'm not going to pick on the dispensationalist here, but if there are dispensationalists here, you have to know at this point, I believe, that we're imminently, any second now, right? And that is how I feel right now. I have actually been physically looking up because I expect Christ for real, but I'm not exactly sure the timing, and nobody really knows. And there has been a teaching that has divided the body of Christ into 3 or 4 groups, and that has to do with the rapture. I still think the Bible's really plain on the transformation and what happens at that time when Christ comes in the clouds and resurrects the dead and changes everyone into new bodies, incorruptible. But it's plainly, from what I can tell, after the tribulation, and I think I'm not, again, that's my own views now. That's my own views. It's a flexible belief system because it changes based on what the Spirit tells me, and He's kind of led me away from that viewpoint, and I've found so many more that have brought me right back to where I really felt that I could understand what I was reading in the Bible, and it made way more sense to me because of other experiences that I had that very possibly had nothing to do with the Bible at all, and other experience that I had that just had nothing to do with even worrying about spiritual matters. I spent a lot of my time not worrying about what really matters, which isn't this life that appears to be a life here that we're living through these jars of clay, I am aware that I am something else here. I am aware. And I'm also aware that the kingdom is at hand. It's coming. And there's some resistance going to happen down here. It's getting ready to happen. And there's some major deception. And right now, look at the world. The world is at the brink. We are being told by more than one person to brace for impact. Roy Potter QA, I believe is his name, relayed that message from someone in military brass, I believe he said, or he alluded to. Mike 444, his channel this morning, was talking about brace for impact. These are Mike 444 will read visions or dreams that come to people, and he'll post them on YouTube. So this is coming from the military, and it's coming from people who are having visions and dreams. And it's the same message, brace for impact. So now what we're seeing are riots, we're seeing the collapse of everything globally. And, this is these are the birth pains, I believe. And they're also, people are going to be watching someone that seems to be honest, that seems to be outside of the system. And people want someone to take control. That's what they want. They don't really want to have control. They want to give it to someone else that they trust, it seems. And I'm not speaking everyone, but in general, that's what I seem to observe overall, our culture, I guess. But there are some very interesting things happening. Where am I at here? I'm rambling on. 6 minutes. Listen, I'm going to start this, and then at some point I'm going to end it, and then I'm going to do a part 2, because I don't want to make it too long. But first of all, I want to say Ashleigh at Reality Sliders Mandela Affected is the one that brought my attention to this with her video, which actually linked me to another channel, which she had gotten the information from apparently, and she mentioned it, Tarot with Insight. She did a reading, bear with me, and she mentioned Deception Bites channel, BYTES, Deception Bites. And so from there, I've been really watching a lot of stuff and listening to a lot of stuff, and immediately I saw synchronicities and connections, just like bam, everything lit up, and it all went to where it was supposed to go. In my mind, I could just see all these connections, okay? And I saw some things happening, and I'm like, okay, this is where this comes in. I really, it's hard to explain it unless you know what I mean, but there's something here. There's something here real, okay? Now, there's definitely some deception, and some deception, what an understatement. This is likely the great deception, probably going to be followed soon by the strong delusion. But we are seeing the nations rise against each other. We're seeing whether or not you want to blame it on one thing or another, or a particular group that may be fomenting violence and sort of directing it, and let's just say possibly agent provocateurs, all right? But whatever you want to call it, what we're seeing is the breakdown. We're seeing it coming apart. And that means the response to that is to protect the system by bringing out, basically, they're gonna pop up the laser turrets, you guys, and that's what they're gonna do. So you can't fight the beast, right? Who can do war against the beast? Now, this is a system that I'm talking about when I say the beast, but everything I'm finding has a macrocosm and a microcosm, and as above, so below, and on all kinds of other levels, very possibly completely interdimensionally, and I don't even know how much. I can't even imagine or fathom the creation, but from what I'm observing, it's pretty incredible. Listen, I'm going to stop this here, but I'm going to tell you that I'm going to talk about King John III, who's calling himself the Messiah, the King of England. I believe he is going to prove it, and he already has, I believe. with his pedigree. This is getting interesting, you guys. Really interesting. Hang on for part 2.